Hello!
Hello!
Welcome!
Welcome.
Welcome to the stream! It's probably called a test stream with cameras, but it's not! It's called Morgan and West Rewatch a Grand Adventure, because for some reason I can't update the title for some reason. Technology! So,
Do we want to stop and then update it and then go back in?
I. It's no longer that on Twitch, because I went in and changed it manually. I
But
possibly
Facebook and
can.
YouTube is slightly more a problem.
Yes, but I might be able to do that through the back end of the restreaming software we're using. Give me a moment.
Because we're not starting until
Welcome,
8 properly anyway. So this is
welcome to
just
Tech
extra chat
Problems.
time. Tell you what, I'll have a chat. I'll have a
Yes,
chat with
you
everyone
explain why
whilst
we're
you
starting at
work out
8,
what's going on.
and I'll work out what's
Yeah.
going on.
Well, so yeah, Rob is wearing quite a spectacular, I can only describe as 1990s American high school prom suit, is what I would say. Whereas last week I threatened to go tops off after the stream had ended. I did threaten to Rob that I'd go tops off. It was decided that I can't go tops off, so this is as close as I can go, which is sleeveless and sort of. There we go. That's as close as we can get to tops off. Is right there. It's also just there, but you can't. I'm not going to go tops. I won't scare everyone. I shan't go tops off. Sarah says no, it's fine. Does that mean the title of the stream on Facebook is correct now, Sarah?
Don't know. I hope you just updated it. According to Restream, I did. Let's find
There we
out.
go.
Yeah, I was thinking about
So
this when
if
I
you're
was.
watching this, if you're doing the watch again on YouTube, skip forward 20 minutes if you
Yeah.
don't want just mindless chat for 20 minutes. Because the other problem was that last week we agreed that we'd start at 7:30, and then I did the promo pick for this, and I said starting at 8, and I've done all the advertising starting at 8. So that
Yeah. So
means that I've got it wrong. So we're going to start at
luckily,
8, but we're here from 7:30.
yeah. So we're here from 7:30, but we're starting at 8. That's sort of the plan for what we're doing. Which also gives us 30 minutes to iron out any tech problems. Not that there'll be any tech problems, obviously, because
No, none.
we never have tech problems. But
No.
also, it helps us iron out any tech problems by starting
Yeah,
at 8.
yeah.
So we're just going to hang. Also, I was thinking about this earlier, Reese, when as I was putting on a tuxedo that I've not worn in well over 10 years, I was
I mean, I've
going.
never seen you wear that.
I know. I probably last wore this at the Christchurch commemoration ball in 2000 and whenever that was, 9.
Facebook still says test, apparently. So there you go.
I've tried updating it. Who knows? Who knows? We'll work it out.
What does YouTube say out of interest? What does YouTube say?
Yeah, who knows?
Well, that's what I'm
Uh,
asking because people are
well,
watching
no.
on YouTube.
Oh, I mean, who knows is why it's working. But yes, as I was putting on this tuxedo, which I've not worn in a long time, I was trying to work out kind of what else to do. I mean, if you've not seen the previous ones of us doing this, where we've worn increasingly elaborate things, this will look very odd.
It will look very odd,
It's
especially the
very odd.
marked difference
So
between the two of us.
the first
Um,
few of these, Reese was wearing a hat, which everyone was speaking about. So we thought we'd up our game and wear sort of more increasingly elaborate things. Reese has now gone the other way. Tell you what,
YouTube also
since we've
currently
got 20
says,
minutes, I might try and go into YouTube and change the title of this.
Yeah, there you go. Rob's going to go into YouTube. I'll carry on chatting. So yeah, the
Carry
more
on chatting.
elaborate thing is Rob is wearing the big suit, and I've gone tattoos out. So there you go.
Yeah.
That's the difference. In a t-shirt that is far too big for me, it's actually like a massive t-shirt that the arms have been cut off. So there you go. There you go. Hello to everyone who's saying hello. Lloyd, hello Lloyd. Sarah's going to go and check, and we should stay here. So thanks for that. Hi Joel, Shapper. Hello, love from India. Good lord. Hello, welcome from India. What time
Thanks
is it
for
where you are?
watching.
I'm assuming Adam Flay UK is in the UK, unless he's just decided to take a UK-based name. So yeah, hello everyone. This is thus making an eye shirt. Yes, good point, George. It is an eye shirt. Or just as usual with a lot of my clothing, just a tube of fabric. But there you go. 12 midnight. Well, welcome at midnight. It's yeah, that's late. We're doing a
now
Magic
feel worse about
Magic
the fact
Society
we're not going
lecture
to
on
do anything for a
Thursday.
couple of for about 20 minutes.
Back in November, we ended up doing Magic Society lectures to people in America, and we'd end up having to start at midnight, and that was awful.
Yeah, that was.
I mean, clearly Francesca can't decide. Francesca can't decide Cats and Stars t-shirt or tux and waistcoat. But that's the thing, isn't it? Interesting, the fact when we were both teachers, we were both up for the Year 11 nominated award of Best Dressed Teacher, and Rob won because he had a Year 11 form group.
I did, yes.
Yeah, there we go. So yes, at roughly, we're just going to be here for 20 minutes, waiting and sorting out tech and all that sort of thing. And once that's done, at 8 o'clock, we will start the rewatch of A Grand Adventure, which was our 2013 Edinburgh Fringe show. That's what we're here for. So yeah, there we go. Everything seems to be slowing down quite considerably on the screen at the moment.
That I believe is because I'm trying to use the back
And
end of
Rob's gone
Facebook
quiet.
while we do this.
I can't hear Rob.
Well, tell you what, I'm giving up on that.
Is it worth just closing the stream and reopening in a couple of minutes and we can sort it?
No, it's fine. I think we're back now. I'm pretty sure that, I'm pretty sure on YouTube and Twitch we now say Morgan and West Rewatch A Grand Adventure. I think on Facebook, I might just go back and fix it afterwards. We'll find out. If you're watching this on Facebook, we're watching A Grand Adventure. This isn't a test stream with cameras. Although, let's face it, it's sort of a test stream with cameras.
I mean, this bit is a test stream with cameras.
This bit is a test stream with cameras. We're working it out as we go.
Yeah.
You know.
The interesting one this time is I have no idea how many people are watching.
And some people are watching on every platform. Oh, here's the thing we were going to say. For the first time, we are streaming on 3 platforms at once. Hence the naming problem.
Yes.
Now, the way this sort of software works is that you should be in YouTube and Twitch. You should be seeing the comments from everyone. However, on Facebook, you are only going to see Facebook comments. Now, throughout the stream, we're not necessarily going to answer every comment, but we will mention some things people say. If you would like to be part of that discussion and see everything that everyone's putting, I would suggest jumping over to YouTube or Twitch, where you will see all the comments. Or, if you find all the comment chat distracting, you could go over to Facebook and watch it there, under the title A Test Stream Now with Cameras. And then there will be less chat. It's entirely up to you. It doesn't. It's
like an in development title they use for films, isn't it? Like exactly. Blue Harvest for Return of the Jedi.
And for all the let me get this
right.
Rob,
you're very quiet apparently.
For all the Friday the 13th films, they gave them all working titles that were David Bowie songs. So let me adjust that. They were all David Bowie songs, which meant that some people went to audition for Friday the 13th films having already been in a Friday the 13th film. Yeah. So some people were like auditioning for it under a working title, and then as they were explaining it in audition going, so you're there, you're at a cabin by a lake, and there's this guy, and they were like, is this Friday the 13th Part 6? Because I was in Friday the 13th Part 4.
No.
Which is one of the weird things about the way films are made, is that often the team is completely different, especially over a long franchise.
Yeah. Apparently we're slow on Facebook at the moment.
Good? Bad? As we said, this is all new, so who knows? Who knows what's happening? Apparently, according to my statistics, currently 11 people are watching us on Facebook, which is great, especially seeing as we advertise this as starting in 15 minutes. Do, during this or after this or whatever, do let us know what the experience is like, because we are going to try and do this on 3 platforms, on Twitch and on YouTube and on Facebook and thing. But if it is that, for whatever reason, this software really lags as we're going through Facebook, we might not do that. Similarly, if it's a trouble with Twitch or trouble whatever. Then... we will try and make it as smooth as possible. But this is, as ever, a test stream. Yeah.
So, but according to Donna Jones on Facebook, it's fine and dandy. So who knows? Anyway, yes. Shampa says, "Tell us about the rewatch." That's a good idea.
We should talk about what we're going to do. So, for those of you that haven't been here, over the last 4 weeks.
Yeah, this is the 5th one. This is number 5.
The 5th one. We've been rewatching our old shows, footage of our old shows that we did years and years ago, and sort of commenting, giving a commentary, a running writers, performers commentary of the thing. That's what we've been doing. We started with Bamboozlement, which was our 2009 show, then did Time Traveling Magicians, our 2010 show, then did Crime Solving Magicians, our 2011 show, then did Clockwork Miracles, one of our 2 2012 shows, and this is our 2013 show. It's going to be A Grand Adventure. Now, this is a preview filming, and we're not going to lie, the quality of the video is pretty poor. The sound is okay, but the video itself is pretty... So there are lots of times we hold up signs that say things. You can't read them at all. Like, you can't read a thing, but we will tell you roughly
So we'll explain what's going on there. That's fine.
Also, because it has a narrative running through it, usually with the shows we'd be like, here's what's happening in this trick, then we chat some more about stuff on someone on stage or whatever. With this, we might pause every now and then just to fill you in on where the story's got to, because it is a running narrative
Yeah.
throughout.
It is a running narrative. Just briefly as well, just to let people know, especially Donna, who's got a meeting at 8, so won't be able to watch us. This will be up on our YouTube page afterwards. The entirety of this will be on our YouTube page.
Yeah, these stay on YouTube for as long as we leave them up. So you can watch. I know a lot of people that do things or work on evenings just watch these afterwards. And it's the same experience, except you don't get to experience us having tech problems live. You instead get to rewind and watch tech problems.
Someone's saying hello from the time that we used to walk puzzle on the park just up the road from the house. Bridget Simmons is saying hello when we used to walk puzzle at Margaret Road Park.
I mean, wow.
That was 2013.
That was a while ago. That was
about the time of this show. That was in fact when we got back from doing this show.
Exactly, yeah, very possibly. Also, again, for anyone new to the stream, as someone asked in the comments, Chaper asked in the comments, we're not talking methods here. If you are a magician watching this in the comments, don't talk methods, please.
Talk methods.
We're not here to talk methods. We're talking the construction and writing of the show. So don't worry that we're going to spoil things for you. We're not going to spoil things for you.
No.
Other than spoiling the tech problems and spoiling the title of the stream on Facebook. But I'll go back and fix that later, or not. I don't know. We'll work it out. I will undoubtedly be jumping on Facebook streaming tomorrow, going, "What's the title of the stream?
Yeah.
What's going on?" We'll work.
Also, I reckon we probably will edit this chunk out of the YouTube one.
Yeah, we will rip it off and probably cut this bit out. There must be a way.
Yeah, I think you can. I think you can edit in the YouTube editor.
Great. If not, we'll put a timestamp in it saying skip all the nonsense.
Skip to this, Robert. Skip this, Robert.
Skip
to the end. So we're going to wait another 13 minutes for people to join. Not skip to the end.
Not skip to the end.
Not skip to the end. We're going to make another 13 minutes for people to join. How is everyone?
How is everyone?
How are you holding up?
How are you? Keeping it together? Oh, while we're here, because we have more people watching on different forms, this is the last show we have video of, other than very recent stuff, which we don't want to talk about. So for next week, which let's say we'll do it at 8, to make changing the advertising stuff easier. We'll say next week's video will be at 8. Next week we're going to be rewatching our Penn and Teller video, or 3 performances on Penn and Teller Fool Us, one of which has never been seen by anyone else before. So that's what we're doing next week. But so we've run out of shows, but we're going to find out a few other bits, and then after that we're going to just stream whatever nonsense we happen to be doing on a Tuesday evening. We'll find out when we.
Yes. Well, in fact, the week after then we're going to do rewatch some other TV stuff.
Yeah.
And then the week after that we will be having a week break.
Oh yes, we have a lecture
because we're doing a lecture for Blackpool Magician Society.
Or we might do on the Wednesday. We'll see how we feel.
Yeah. Oh, Kat's here. Hi, Kat. Yes, you like the show, which is great. It's a good show.
We're very fond of
any plans for another book? We're sort of starting to try and write one at the moment, but everyth's difficult because creativity right now is awful.
Yeah, so we are working on our book Magicians, but I would not hold your breath. Really.
Hello, Charlie Harrison. How are you? Oh, yes. Hello. Good Lord. That was 10 years ago that I was teaching. More than that, actually. It's terrifying. Yeah. Anyway, hope you well.
That strange thing where when you're a teacher and you go around like the town where you teach and sort of the kids are existing in the real world, and you're like, oh, they exist in the real world. And you can see the kids looking at us and going, oh, the teachers exist in the real world. And then 10 years later, you forget that they still exist in the real world, but now they're adults.
Oh, it's Cameron as well.
Oh, Cameron with a K.
Sorry, I didn't spoil you in the comments. Hello, Cameron.
Hello, Cameron.
Yes, hello.
Former students and alumni of our brief magic club at the school we used to work at.
What county did we teach in? We taught in South Oxfordshire. Oxfordshire is the county, I think. South Oxfordshire is the county council area. Oxfordshire is the county.
Is it the Vale of the White Horse? Is the county council remit bit? I think we taught the Vale of the White Horse.
How you doing?
But, I like the panels. Like,
is it
county?
Vale of White Horse?
More than that. I'm not interested in more than that. I just want to know the county. Oh, my internet connection is unstable. Interesting.
Yes, there has been quite some delay stuff going on now.
Interesting. Well, we'll find out. Who knows? But we'll work it out. think we've caught up now.
Yeah.
It's no longer telling me my internet connection is unstable.
There you go. Well, that's good. That's good. So much internet being used.
But yes, in fact, Julian in
Too
the comments
much
just said,
internet.
"How do you work together in the current situation with tech problems? That's how."
Oh, Parvin's there. Hey, Parvin, how you doing? You all right? Why Morgan and West, not West and Morgan? Sounds better, doesn't
Sounds
it?
better.
Sounds better.
But
That's
and
the
blurt
honest
sounds better
answer.
than but, basically.
Yeah.
In generic double act rhythm. And
Yeah.
What
did we teach? Well, I taught maths and physics, and Rob taught chemistry. Back in the day, because those are the degrees.
That's what we trained
The
in.
degrees of freedom.
Training business.
That's not a thing, is it?
But give me 1 second. I'm just gonna mute myself. You carry on talking, Rhys. 1 moment.
He leaves me in the room. Jolly good. Oh yeah, he's gone. I'll take you on a brief tour of the office right now. Will we go back to teaching? Not if we don't have to. Love teaching, hate the paperwork. So behind me is the pile of unsorted stuff, an exercise bike, and an accordion in a case, which at some point I will learn how to play. Possibly, who knows? But yeah, that's everything. Show us a live card trick. We don't do any tricks on these streams because it's really hard to do tricks when we're in different places. And honestly, we don't really do magic tricks very often anymore. Yeah, that's that one. Plus, you can steal Mitchell and Webb monogram stuff. Yes, and Morecambe Wise monogram stuff. In fact, MW is the great double act naming convention, I feel. There we go. I'll turn that off. So that's a bit of a. How do the economics of the fringe work? Badly for performers is the straight up answer. Badly for performers. It's a complicated beast, but are we everywhere we want to be in our magic career since pursuing it? Or have we got any other plans? Quite luckily, in fact, back in February when our book came out, we were like, yes, we've accomplished everything we want to accomplish, and then everything fell apart. Are we going to swap costumes halfway through the stream? I don't think so, because we're in very different locations. And that suit that Rob is wearing would not fit me.
Yeah,
and
we're not
this t-shirt would look like a tent on Rob. So...
We're not in the same place. Sorry, I was just dealing with some. We're doing technology. Producer / moderator Emma is sorting things out for us.
Yeah, there we go.
It's good. So we are. Yeah, we got 5 minutes. Yeah, we'll hold on.
We got 5 minutes.
Our numbers have picked up on YouTube. As people go, and I'm sure people off Facebook are going, is this a test stream with cameras?
Yeah, it's not a test stream. We're gonna start the show in about 5 or 6 minutes. It's my fault. I advertised the times incorrectly. Yeah. So it's my fault.
But yeah, and we cannot work out how to. Well, we cannot work out how to change the title on Facebook now. The buttons don't do anything. And if I try and open Facebook while running this software that's streaming to Rhys and streaming to you at the same time, everything just goes blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, so it's not worth doing it. Not worth doing it. So there we go. Yes, tattoos. Many of them. I'll take. That's something to do for 5 minutes. I'll take you through them.
5 minutes. That's
So here we have that's the Imperial symbol from Star Wars in the form of sort of a mandala style tattoo. That's the bit from the front of the pocket watch from Doctor Who, from Family of Blood. That's a Celtic dragon made from paper origami.
It's not made from skin, obviously.
Oh, it's made from skin, obviously. There's ones around the back here that you can't really see properly. Oh, hang on, I don't think you can see those ones. This is all pictures from Roald Dahl short stories. That's Batman. That's Discworld, and there's ones on the back that are LucasArts computer games, Scum Engine computer games. So there you go. Yeah, and the legs. But I'm not showing the legs. We're not getting the legs out. So maybe another stream. I'll turn up and you won't see the top half. I'll just be in shorts.
We'll do summer streams. We'll do it in shorts. I'll be honest. Every stream up to this point, and so I'm now continuing it. I've been wearing slippers. So I'm now in a full tuxedo, but I am still wearing my slippers.
Oh, I'm wearing slippers.
I feel like
I'm absolutely wearing slippers.
Part of reframing the struggle of the time at the moment is about I can't get my leg up like that, but you just got to trust me. I'm wearing slippers. It's about reframing things. So rather than being like, oh, we had no work, it's like, oh, I've got to wear slippers a lot more in the last 10 months than I have usually. So
what's our favourite trick that we do? Usually the last trick that we've done, perfectly honestly, for a live audience, because you just sort of end up favouring those ones a bit more. Again,
because we're fickle, basically.
We are fickle. Yes, don't worry. We are going to actually start the rewatch
We're going to start
in the next
watching the
5
show in
minutes.
like 3 minutes. We're just waiting for like we've just been chatting for half an hour doing tech problems.
Yeah,
But,
so
any
we're
minute now
almost
we're going
there.
to start the show and something interesting will be happening.
Yeah.
But in fact, for anyone who's just joining us now, let's once again explain where we are. We're about to be rewatching our old show, Morgan West: A Grand Adventure. We say rewatch. We're not really doing this for showing you the show. We're doing this for the commentary of the show. So we are going to be talking over it. You're not going to get to the full experience of watching it. I think that, that's not really what we're doing this for. It's about the commentary and what we're talking about and the stories about it. This particular one is a preview performance filmed in a theatre in London. We can't remember the name.
It is family friendly. It's family friendly, but bear in mind, someone's asking, is it suitable for an 8-year-old? Yep. But you won't actually be watching the show. You'll be watching us talk about the show. So kids might find it boring. Just as a warning. That's the warning.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. This is like watching a director's commentary on a thing, but less highbrow.
Yeah,
but so this is filmed.
I'm afraid we don't have. So people are asking about, do we have any merch? And basically, we don't at the moment. We don't have any. We haven't got anything. So we got nothing. Yes, sorry, you were saying.
Yeah, so the show is filmed in a theatre in London, which we can't remember the name of. I thought it was the Greenwich Theatre, but thinking about it, you're right. It's not. It's somewhere else. That rough area.
Yeah, Liam, do you know what the theatre's called? It was halfway between Greenwich and Camberwell, on a main road. And we had to sort of pull up outside and load in, like at the bottom of a library or something. Yeah, do you remember what it's called, Liam? He's gone quiet on us. He's not there anymore. Liam's left us. He's abandoned us.
Liam's gone. He's also on a delay, to be fair. So, yeah, we can't remember the name of the theatre. Also, no one came to this preview. Like, pretty much the entire audience was a group of my friends from university, or my old uni friends who had come. This was the first show of ours in years they'd come to see. It was like them and maybe like 5 other people.
It's not Blue Elephant, no.
I don't think it was Blue Elephant.
No, it's on first floor, and you had to lug everything up those stairs to get into it. And it was almost in the round. It was a bit of a weird one. It was down a main road that had a petrol station and a Sainsbury's at the end of it. I tried finding it on a map earlier, and I couldn't quite work it out.
But
yeah,
we'll see.
Fun fact: the tattoo on my back has the pint of grog that you have to use in the first Secret Monkey Island game. In the first Curse of Monkey Island, Secret Monkey Island, which was the first one? First Monkey Island game to break the person out of prison. That's on my back.
But yeah, I think that's the first Monkey Island.
Liam has no idea. And with that,
we make that 8 o'clock, which means we're going to start. So here's us in a theatre somewhere in London. Don't know where. Don't know what it was called. Can't remember. Performing to a very small audience, a preview of our show, Morgan West: A Grand Adventure. As we said, video quality, very poor. And we are going to talk over it. Here we go. Let's see if this works.
Mr. West's Journal, Day 44. All hope is lost. All lines of inquiry have led to naught. We have yet to catch so much as a glimpse of our quarry. The book is gone. Whatever person or persons we are in pursuit of have proven themselves too fast, too cunning, too elusive. We are also out of milk, have exhausted our supply of sugar cubes, and are working our way through the tin labelled emergency tea. I have not seen Mr. Morgan for some 13 hours now.
I am starting to feel a bit hungry in here.
As I have yet to work out how to get him out of the box.
You could slide a biscuit through a crack in the side, perhaps.
So here, at the turn, I leave you. I only hope this journal serves as a warning to those who find themselves in our most peculiar predicament. Perhaps one day it will be published to the masses, or be reproduced in some fantastical dramatization, and such retelling will shed light on the events as they transpired, and provide an audience with the illumination that has thus far eluded us.
Really quite hungry now. Mr. Morgan? Have an idea.
So Liam did all of the sound design for this show, as this is the end of the Liam and Morgan and West era. We'll talk you through what the cards say.
So they say Morgan and West present a most spectacular mystery featuring Rhys Morgan and Robert West.
And then the next one says, and a cast of thousands, hence sticking my arm through the thing and going, and all you lot there.
In.
And then these flip open. You can't see any of this, obviously. Morgan and West, a grand adventure. So it's opened with Rob sat on a box, and the implication is that I'm in the box. And we're going to sort of tell the story in flashback.
The opening to this show, as in the preset for this show, was just me sat on the box writing in the diary. So the idea was that basically people would come in and I'd just be sat there, and then the lights faded in the audience, and that voiceover kicked in, explaining roughly what's going on. And the show itself opens with us giving a lecture in the Royal Society. If any of you have seen Parletrix or seen the video of Parletrix, this trick is in Parletrix but originated in this show.
Perception, attention to the elegant art of deception. Hardly surprising given that the Society's motto is nullius in verba. Take nobody.
Which is actually the motto of the Royal Society.
That really is the motto of the Royal Society, is take nobody's word for it, which is an amazing motto.
One key deceit, one big fib, one lie. It is these lies that magicians jealously guard. We keep asking this large book, our rather aptly titled Big Book of Lies. For example, it was not your card. They are twin conspicuously large table. I peeped. Every lie we tell, the crux of every trick that we do is contained.
It's funny that, isn't it? Because that's got 4, and these days we'd write that as a 3 joke.
That's very much a rule of 3 gag. Usually you would go, a thing.
And it doesn't become absurd enough.
But it doesn't become absurd enough. I think we were too self-satisfiedly making real references to how magic tricks are done. It's also worth pointing out, so Liam, who does a lot of our print, or did a lot of our print and sound design at the moment, and who was also in the comments, hi Liam, is in the audience for this show, and every now and then you can hear him laughing very loudly.
A diversion of some kind. Nor is
just then.
Do not look at this. Misdirection is in fact control of the attention of an audience.
So this trick is us explaining how misdirection works under the guise.
And it genuinely is us explaining how misdirection works.
It really is explaining how misdirection works. Again, some of the stuff in this you're not going to see at all because it will not make out.
You will only see what you expect. Or in this case, you will only see what you expect. You see, you...
It's the classic thing where you have you and two the same words split over 2 different lines, and so you kind of miss it.
But again, you can't see it. Similarly, there's going to be some business here with a pen and a carrot, but you just cannot make it out in this video. This is a trick we really
allow participant is a good participant, Liam.
Yeah, allow participant is a good participant. We're really proud of this trick because we really are, like, the method for the trick is exactly what we're saying it is, which is you're just not looking at the stuff at the right time.
So you can't see, but Rob's pen is turning into a carrot and back into a pen.
And Reese's pen turns into a carrot and back into a pen, and even though it's in his neck. Like, lots of that kind of change stuff happens, including my shoe disappearing just there.
Well, I acquired Mr. Morgan's West.
Reese's waistcoat disappearing there, which looks much better when there is, actual contrast because you're seeing it with human eyes and it's not all bleached out.
This is my favourite moment.
Unless you are, of course, asking about any of our secrets. So, of course, we are consummate magicians, and as such, we would never reveal our secrets. And no one but us ever touches our big... It is gone. What has the book? Not our big book of the very same. Someone must have...
Bit of a double take for you there. Where did that book go? Who knows?
Who knows? You just pick it up and walk off with it.
Look around for clues, Mr. Morgan. Details, the tiniest indication of who could have done this. No matter how vague, how unremarkable the future may appear, it may hold some vital shred of evidence necessary to help us to figures and anything who's on it. Calling card. Well, yes, we'll do.
Classic bit of Mr. West talking very fast there. I still to this day talk very fast on stage, but that really was first rate.
Oh, this is quite Fourth Wall-y, this show as well.
Yeah, we do a lot of... So the premise behind this show essentially was, it was sort of like an homage / love letter to action and adventure and kind of stories and films. And so it is peppered with references to pop culture. So in the start we reference a line from the film Prestige, which is what we stole our look from.
We had no intention of waiting around.
And throughout the film we drop various references to books and films and TV shows and all sorts of stuff. We will try and remember as many of them as we can, but it's been a long time.
The calling card, our only lead.
This is us in a carriage.
We're in a carriage. That's why we're
Top
jigging.
quality acting here. Top quality acting.
My turn. Sen. Neo. New. No, that's the Greek first. Spin. Then just some letters. Initials, perhaps? NLY. What does 2 cent spin NLY mean?
So here we're trying to decipher the Latin inscription ad mito neo
Things
NLY.
the overrun with pace bowlers and need to mix things up. So they formed a society? Yes.
Yes.
And made the motto of that society a request for more spin bowlers? Yes. And stole our big book of lies? Yes. And left us a calling card? No. Shall we consult a profession? Yes. In order to catch a thief, you must think like one. So the professional we consulted was none other than London's finest gentleman thief. A.J. Raffles. No, the phenomenal one that is A.J. Raffles.
So a little oblique reference to wrestling here. A.J. Raffles is a real fictional thief from the Victorian era, but we refer to him as the phenomenal A.J. Raffles, which is a reference to the phenomenal A.J. Styles, who is a wrestler from Georgia.
That you could pluck the monogram from your handkerchief whilst you were still blowing your nose. Eclipse so clever.
That was a weird little trick where we had a monogrammed handkerchief and Rob just sort of pulled a ribbon from it and then it disappeared from the handkerchief.
And then I produced a watch from top. Basically, like, this is one of these strange things where some people came out of the show and went, you don't do much magic in it. And we're like, we do quite a lot of magic in it, but we don't telegraph it in the way you do telegraph a magic show. And
so this next trick, whenever we did this in the Fringe, we would pick a child. As it was, we just had to pick a short person.
We did not have enough people. Luckily, my friend Ollie and his wife Kim were there, and Kim is quite short, so she'll do.
Yeah.
And this
Sarah asks, how well do you remember the script and flow of the shows, and if you had to do it tomorrow, could you? I could get half of it, I reckon.
Yeah.
If I watched it once, I reckon I can do it.
Watching it back, I remember more of it than I think I do. This is a puppet we made, and we called him Langton Matravers. Langton Matravers,
which is a place in Dorset that we've done the Village Hall of a few times.
Yeah, it's a village. We did a Village Hall gig in a few times. He's very loosely based on Cookie Monster.
That bucket says for the children, I think, on it.
I think it says for the orphans, even.
No, yeah.
And again,
so here we're sort of pulling coins from a person. It's a sort of a classic miser's dream routine, but with a big two-handed puppet thing.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, we hugely stole this idea from
Jeff McBride.
Jeff McBride. This is basically Jeff McBride's classic sort of miser's dream routine, but rather than doing it in like full kabuki makeup and silently, we're doing it with a creepy puppet who sounds like Cookie Monster.
We had to be a bit careful, actually, because several times we got kids up that were too young, and this puppet scared the bejesus out of them.
It's one of those things we thought about, but that is actually quite a scary puppet, because it's all black, and it's got these big, hollow black eyes, and it talks like this. Oh, so good. Ha ha. Oh, yeah, and the music is from the...
Yes, because you'd been playing Dishonored the year before, hadn't you, Liam?
You can't make it out in the video, but what's happening here is that we are pulling coins from the volunteer, and every now and then Langton eats one. Goes on a bit, doesn't it?
And we shortened it for the tour. We shortened it quite extensively for the tour.
Oh, yeah, I suppose this is a preview, and as such...
This goes on like 3 times longer than it needs to.
Because you rehearse stuff, and it's very hard to tell the pace of it in the room, and then you get it in front of an audience and you go, "Oh God, this goes on a bit." So I think by the end of Edinburgh, certainly when we toured this was a much tighter, quicker bit, especially because kids were genuinely, legitimately scared of the puppet.
Oh God, yeah, it's going on forever.
Yeah.
So there's licensing for music for things like this. You just have to pay a certain percentage. In the Fringe, it's all sort of centrally organised that you end up paying 3% of ticket sales.
Yeah, it's a thing called the Performing Rights Society. Performers' Rights Society.
So vomits into the bucket, and you've heard the bucket several times make a clanky sound, and at the end, nothing but confetti comes out of the bucket, which was always a really nice little bit. Because we were never sure how to end.
We weren't sure how to end that bit. What's nice about that is that I knew that was coming, but I missed it.
After all, he's a bit less completely mad. Yes, that. Chatting to Raffles.
One of my favourite bits of the show was when we'd do the confetti with a kid. Langton would just get to go away.
Yeah.
the suspicious movement of a gentleman in the vicinity of the Royal Society that very same evening. Our thief, at last, a glimpse of the train. But we have more than that. Raffles also recognised the calling card found at the scene.
We talk so fast in this.
We talk so fast.
It is not a cricket club. No, it was, in fact, a membership card for a secret society, L'Ordina della Fenice, with its headquarters.
L'Ordina della Fenice is an Italian secret
Italian
society
for
we
Order,
invented.
Order of the Phoenix. It's a very ham Italian translation. I don't think it's probably
it's
that
very
great.
Google
But
Italian, Google Translate Italian. It's the Order of the Phoenix.
Trucem spin NLY, and in Latin, and mito neo NLY. Have you seen it? Of course. Look closely at that. Read it again. And mito neo NLY. And run that together. Admit one only.
so that's quite a nice little sort of magic, tricky special effect bit where the card starts really small and then Rob brings the magnifying glass up to it and it becomes much, much bigger, which is a nice little bit.
Liam says in the comments, my trousers are top notch. Thanks very much, Liam. These are the costumes again here made by Kate Lane. Brilliant costume designer.
Oh, water. Compass. One each. Yes, bring a pair. There we go.
That's my favourite gag, is a pair of compasses.
Bring a pair of compasses and we bring a pair of compasses.
Pick helmet. French helmet. Yes, perhaps not. Cricket ball. No. Very well. Whip. Yes. Pan. Breakfast. Knife. Emergency tea. Shark repellent Morgan and West spray. Yes, tea.
Obviously, their Shark Repellent Morgan and West spray is a reference to the 1967 Batman film.
Map. Yes. Pan. Another one. Second breakfast. No.
Lord of the Rings reference.
Tea towel. Yes, fine. Cricket bat.
Towel is South Park reference, don't forget to bring a towel.
Look at the quality of that tea towel. Yes.
And this is a shameless
This is the first year that we started selling tea towels, so there was a shameless plug in the middle of the show for our tea towel.
Design. Very chic. Where did you procure it? I simply purchased it upon leaving a show for the low price of £5 British. That is a bargain in
I
post.
think to this day my parents have that exact design of tea towel up in their kitchen.
You, sir, have a generous soul.
Ours is on the butcher's block.
Tea towels are the most massively useful thing an adventurer can have. Yes, indeed. And sugar bowl. What for?
The line, a tea towel is the most massively useful thing an adventurer can have, is the line, a towel is the most massively useful thing a hitchhiker can have. Yes, exactly. Chris Weed points out that is the hitchhiker's reference there.
It is in the bowl.
Yeah, so it is a Douglas Adams reference, but it's also a South Park reference, because we were going heavy on the references here. So the hitchhiker's line,
unfortunately,
I just did.
You can't really see this properly. There you go, you can see it. Just sort of an infinite amount of sugar is coming from my hand. Which is sort of, again, a classic magic trick known as the salt pour. There's lots on YouTube of different salt pours out there where you can see how the trick works. What it's supposed to look like if you can actually see the thing.
Basically, the idea is here we have just endless amounts of sugar pouring out of our hands and don't know what to do with it.
Of course, rather than using sugar, we use salt because we were worried that if we use sugar, it would get a bit damp and everything would get a bit sticky. So we use salt. And over the course of a month-long run in Edinburgh, that trunk collapses. But obviously, it had had salt in it for a month, and so all of the bolts rusted, so we almost couldn't get it apart.
In what possible circumstance will we need pockets full of sugar? Bake sale? Our destination.
A year later, we changed that to Bake Off, because then the Great British Bake Off had become popular enough that it was actually a gag.
We happen to know that keen aviationist Mary Myers was giving a talk on high-altitude oxygen deprivation at the Royal
So
Society.
usually in the show, if we reference someone, well, other than someone like AJ Raffles, who is a fictitious character, or Langton Travers, who is a village, Mary Myers was a real balloonist from the Victorian era.
So Rob is now wearing little gloves with little top hats and faces and googly eyes, which are like little mini Morgan and Wests.
Rather nasty headwinds.
We really were trying some theatre stuff here, weren't we? This is some real theatre business. There's puppets and stuff. Again,
P directed it.
This show was directed by P. Burton Morgan, and they really are, they're a theatre director. They're big on their theatre and puppets and things. And I think
We were rehearsing this in one of the side rooms of the Young Vic. And Trevor Nunn was rehearsing a show in the main space of the Young Vic and used to walk past the side room with the cast quite often. And at one point walked off when I just didn't have my shirt on. So that was an odd experience, just staring Trevor Nunn in the eyes whilst I didn't have a shirt on. It was a bit like, hello.
Bit of sneaking acting from me there.
Yes, right. Ego non intelligo. Why are you speaking Latin? We are in Italy. not Italy of 1500 years ago. Good point.
None shall pass.
What?
None.
Liam, was that your voice?
It was for a while. I think it is, Liam,
I
isn't
think
it?
it is, isn't it? Obviously, again, None Shall Pass is the Black Knight from Monty Python and the
Grail.
Grail. So that's what we're doing there.
And we just show him the admit one only card, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But obviously, that's admit one only, not admit two.
Blast. Mr. West, if you just pass...
Daqui non si passa.
Good point. Very fair. Oh, Mr. Morgan. Yes? Do you remember the small matter of Teijiro Ishida? What, old funny fingers? Yes. Oh, yes.
So
Ready?
that's a joke, a very specific magician joke there. So we vanish a card from one side and appear it on the other. And Teijiro Mashida is the magician known as Tenkai who basically invented the move we use there.
Each darker and more foreboding than the last. Here and there was the dance of torchlight up ahead, the sound of muffled voices and of footsteps. But as we descended deep into the belly of Lodina della Fenice, not a single soul did we meet.
Mr. West, look. Inscriptions above the doorways. They must be
I
clues.
doubt we would mention them otherwise.
All this nonsense.
Romane, ite, domum.
What about this one?
Ah, a couple of
Pretty sure. Pretty sure. Look! Nullius...
So there's a couple of references in there.
Yeah, so obviously Orbis Non Sufficit is the world is not enough, which is the motto of the James Bond family. Romane Ite Domum is Romans Go Home from Arthur Bryan. When he says, what about this one, Ark of the Covenant, are you sure, pretty sure, that's directly taken from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. And then the last one is the
Yes. Now that you mention...
the route we go into. We started just crowbarring stuff in.
Yeah. One of the slight problems we had with this show is occasionally in a magic show you do need to involve people. This is the worst possible use in this show of a person. We employ them with the idea that they are a safe
Is this the worst
door.
possible use? Or is
Yeah,
Arthur
this is the
Brooks
worst.
the worst possible use?
Or is what bit?
Arthur Brooks.
Fortunately, I've made something of a study of sacred.
No, this is worse than Arthur Brooks, mate.
Not to taste the rest. From the looks of this safe, I may say what a handsome looking safe.
So the premise here is that there is a safe in this room that we're trying to crack, and the safe is that person. For any Joss Whedon fans out there, the safe has is inscribed Wolfram and Hart.
This master safekeeper, then I imagine in this
In
another.
fact, Maggie got there before we did, so Maggie remembers that gag, which is impressive.
Well done, Maggie. Well done.
Oh, I love those hoods.
Yeah, they're good little hoods. We must have them somewhere.
Yeah.
So, and this is such a laboured way of getting a magic trick into a show. So, what we're doing here is one of them is a master safekeeper who's getting someone else to think of a 4-digit code, which will then be input into the safe by showing them what they wrote down, and then one of us will then work out what the code. Basically, it's an incredibly laboured excuse for a mind reading trick with a lot. It's rubbish. The setup for this.
And it uses a method that's basically identical to a method that we used in Crime Solving Magicians because we were running out of ideas.
Yeah. I'd like to point out that the chap sat there with the safe. Again, most of the people that came to this show were my friends from university because no one else came. So the chap sat on the box holding the safe door has a PhD in chemistry now. In fact, might even be a postdoc at this point.
By being sent back to his seat. His seat of death.
There's also so much stuff to do in this show. God, because it didn't stop. You didn't have an
It didn't
opportunity to stop. If
It
you
was
missed
80s.
anything, you were completely done.
Yeah.
Exceptional, gentlemen. Quick equipment check.
So the premise here is I'm about to crack the safe by guessing the code that dude on the box
Some
is
audio
thinking of. Audio gag.
Implying I've got 2 hearts and I'm actually a Time Lord. Noise my stomach makes. So my head is just full of fighting cats, it turns out.
And yeah.
This is thoroughly enjoyable. Friends.
That's the voice of P. Burton Morgan, who directed the show. I believe the fighting cats was vaguely a reference to Look Around You, I think, at
Yes,
the time.
I think it was.
Number 4. 4. Number 9. 9.
I seem to remember for no particular reason we had those clicks on a hotkey so you could press them like in a random order and get different clicks each time.
Yeah.
Which is one of those things that's like completely needless. You could just do the same ones.
All that needs to happen now is should this combination be correct, then of course the safe door will swing open.
We did sometimes get this wrong.
Ominous creak.
Also, but it's definitely one of the instances of it's only a magic trick by dint of how much you sell it, because it's so convoluted how you get to where you are that if you ask someone how was that a magic trick, I'm pretty sure they'll just go, no idea.
I have no idea. I honestly have no concept of in what way that was a trick.
What does it say?
The cough isn't scripted. That's just Reese having a coughing fit.
English. What does it say? Last pair of tickets to Trans-Siberian Railway given away by Catania Alsop.
Trans-Siberian Railway.
Yes, it seems to say that the last pair of tickets.
I'm just going to pause here to catch everyone up on what on earth is going on.
Yeah,
in
what on
story.
earth has happened? Yeah.
So,
I'm so sorry.
we start off in the Royal
It doesn't. I think
It's
even live
mad.
you'd have difficulty following this because it's so quick.
Looking back, I forgot how mad the plot of this show is in order to get magic tricks into it.
So it starts in the Royal Society. Well, it opens with me in a box and Rob sat and going, I'm going to tell you the story basically of how he got in a box, which in itself is a Monkey Island 2 reference because that's how Guybrush Threepwood starts with Big Whoop dangling and says to Elaine Marley, let's review how we got here. And it's that kind of thing. But other things
it is also a device used a lot in TV, especially in films. And then we're in the Royal Society giving a lecture, and in that about misdirection, and in that lecture we reference our big book of lies, which is the book in which we keep all of our secrets because we're magicians, we deal in secrets. And
it disappears. And we don't know where it's gone, but we find a calling card on the floor.
And the calling card, and then we go and speak to the master thief, Langton Travers, or actually we talked to Reggie Raffles thing in the end, who tells us it's the calling card from an Italian secret society called L'Ordine della Fenice. Which is the Order of the Phoenix. We go there.
We break in there.
Society, find a safe, open the safe, and in the safe there is a cutting from the Moscow Bugle, so a newspaper from Moscow. By the
Moscow Bugle is the newspaper that Miss Kitka, Catania Alsop, works for. Catwoman fakes an identity to in the 1966 Batman film.
Yeah. So and Catania Alsop is her. Kitka Ravina Alsop. So. Basically, this article has been written by Catwoman for no particular reason, and is mentioning that it's an article about how the last 2 tickets to the Trans-Siberian Railway have been sold.
The grand opening of the Trans-Siberian Railway.
The grand opening of the Trans-Siberian Railway, which I think we did look up was about this time.
Yeah, it's about right. But it means you can date the show, roughly speaking.
Yeah, it's happening, and we take that to be a clue. That's where we've got to thus far. It only gets madder from here. To answer Sensor's question, we kind of did go into this trying to put a lot of references to adventure films and stuff in. Yeah. Because, again, this is a bit of a love letter to all the films and TV shows and books and stuff from our youth that we loved. So we wanted to...
That's where we're up to.
That's where we're up to.
Strap in.
It only gets stranger from here.
It was given to an Englishman. An Englishman? Someone suggested he take a bit of a holiday.
Holiday indeed.
Yes, it was a stranger who gave them to him, and the stranger was on his way to Arthur Brooks' Tea Emporium. Tea Emporium? Yes.
Do you know what this means, Mr. Morgan?
Yes, Mr. West, I did just translate it.
Do you know what this implies, Mr. Morgan?
No, Mr. West, what does it imply?
It implies we need to get to Moscow, and quickly. Quicker than that.
It is 1895, much quicker than that.
I'm not getting off horse.
Buffet car.
Another clue, and with it, another mystery. Who is this mysterious Englishman to be given these tickets to the Trans-Siberian Railway?
And for that matter, who gave them to him, and why?
And for that matter, what does Arthur Brooks' Tea Emporium have to do with proceedings? Armed with naught but the extra stocks we packed?
Spoiler alert, very little.
I shall go in search of the tickets.
And I shall head to the Tea Emporium.
So at this point, basically, we're going to split up so that we can introduce some other characters played by us. Mabel points out that at this point we've been given very different memos about the dress code. That is very deliberate. The idea here is that Mr. West is very prepared to go on an adventure and Mr. Morgan is not. It's meant to be a character difference.
And also, if you're referring to us in real life, I was theoretically going to go tops off, but decided it was too much, and Rob decided to go for an incredible suit. So that was that.
And Reese is now
I'm wearing a massive fake beard.
You are not wrong. Englishman. Yes? And what of it, sir?
You have something I want, sir.
I have something that all men want, sir. A magnificent beard.
This is the second character that Reese knows how to play.
But I refer in fact to those tickets you hold.
And who are you to claim such things?
I am Mr. West, stage left half of time-traveling magic duo Morgan and West.
So Egerton is actually what was a historical character.
He's a real
he was
fencing
a swordsman,
master from the
wasn't he?
Victorian era. He's a fencing master.
Yeah.
So one of the great.
Also, that
fencers
cane that
of
Rob is using at the moment left behind in the Derby Theatre 3 years ago and then disappeared.
Yep, vanished.
And in giving you, clearly a witness to his greatest crime, those tickets seeks to goad us into pursuit. Well, a pursuit you shall have, sir. I must have those tickets.
Get used to disappointment.
What's that a reference to? Oh, that's the Princess Bride. When he says,
It is,
"Who are
yeah.
you? I must know." He says, "I get used to disappointment." That's the Princess Bride.
Bearded society dormant.
Egerton! So you stole our big book of lies and then travelled to Moscow.
We'll come back to favourite films at the end, John, remind us.
Yep.
Put it on in that with no sense.
I tell you, I was given them.
Then I shall have to forcefully request you give them to me.
Forcefully, eh?
Quite forcefully. Marquis of Queensbury?
I think not.
That's a sword.
That's a genuine machete that I'm brandishing that's been blunted. Heather had to blunt that.
No, it's not.
That one?
This is not the tricky.
Oh, no, it's not. Oh, yeah. You're right. No, it's not.
God, it took
I
me a
just
long time
can't
to
see.
get that out of my pocket.
Walk away, West.
No, Egerton. Get your damn hands off those tickets.
Which is a reference to Back to the Future 1. Get your damn hands off of her by George thing.
Given the rocky terrain.
Oh no! I pressed the wrong thing. Sorry, I was trying to pause.
What did
that
you
there,
do?
And I tried trying to pause it, and in doing so, completely messed up.
But I refer in fact to those tickets.
Sorry, we're going to watch this scene again. In which case, I'll talk over some of the thick references we make. So yeah, Egerton Castle is a real fencing master. In this, we try and reference a bunch of sword fights. So we make reference to the Princess Bride in it, and the premise here is that Egerton Castle has been given 2 tickets to the Trans-Siberian Railway by some stranger, and we are trying to get them off him because we think that's a clue.
Very quickly, so we can answer the question now. John's daughter would like to know what our favourite films are. Mine's probably either Labyrinth or Muppets Christmas Carol.
I would say Back to the Future 2.
Barely even stopping to tip Egerton, the magnificently bearded society dormant.
Egerton! So you stole our big book of lies and then travelled to Moscow and bought 2 tickets to Trans-Siberian. Put it on in that with no sense.
Yeah, so sorry about the time jump, everyone.
Sorry about
so
that.
yes, I don't pull a machete out. There is. We had the machete earlier. There was a genuine machete in this show that was blunted, so you could smack someone around the head with it, but you couldn't stab them up. This is sort of a short rapier kind of sword affair.
Epee, I believe you'd probably call it. And yes, Maggie, I would argue that Back to the Future 2 is probably better than the first.
So that's a classic breakaway wand gag.
Classic breakaway one, but
No, Egerton, get your damn hands off those tickets.
there's the Back to the Future reference again. And this pose we're about to do is from Kill Bill 1. So this is the fight between Uma Thurman and Lucy Lawless. This fight isn't, but that beginning pose is.
Come, Mr. West. I once had a dog who was smarter than you.
I once had a dog who was smarter than you.
In what
Monkey Island reference, of course.
well, we need pockets full of sugar.
West realises that he's got sugar in his pockets, steals the sword.
I believe also we reference Hamlet in this fight because we say "have at you" at the beginning, which is a reference to Hamlet and Laertes. I think Laertes is it in their fight.
This is very silly.
This is very silly. Sorry, did I say Lucy Lawless? You're right, Chris. Lucy Lou. Now we're on a cliff.
For ridiculing you earlier, I apologise. Oh, except
That's from something.
no.
Muppet Treasure Island, I think, isn't it?
If I cannot have them, nobody can! Go ahead and drop them, matey. I have time till the train, I will find them. Time? Let us see how much time it takes you to find 2 golden tickets amongst the hundreds of silver!
So that is a reference to the Crystal Maze.
That's the crystal. That's us doing a Crystal Maze bit. Mr. West catches the gold tickets on the end of the sword. Initially, when we did that, we actually had the sting from the Crystal Maze, but we thought that might be too on the nose.
Yeah. So West goes to the station to meet Mr. Morgan, and Morgan doesn't turn up.
No buttons in sight. Mr. West boarded the train, located his compartment, and settled down as he began to pull away. For the first time in a career spanning centuries,
You just put something down, I think.
himself feeling rather alone.
Mr. West's journal, day 34. Mr. Morgan is missing, presumed in Moscow somewhere. I do hope nothing untoward has happened to the chap, although I have begun to plan my solo career just in case. Way out west has a certain ring to it. I have been aboard this accursed train for 5 days now, and have seen neither hide nor hair of anyone who might want to steal our book or our identities. I have no authority on this train and speak no Russian, so my efforts of investigation have been somewhat hampered. Reviewing the evidence we have so far gathered only serves to clarify how foolhardy this entire trip has been, leaping from one assumption to the next. I can only assume that at the end of the line, a new clue will present itself.
I do like that we point out how stupid the plot is at that point.
Beg your pardon? Your money or your life? What are the highwaymen doing on a train? Your money or your life? No, he didn't say that. Well, I do not know. I was not there. Well, how is he supposed to tell us part of the story? I have an idea. It's about his golf ticket. So you were there. So clearly you should play the part of the highwayman. Right. And I should play the part of you. You were not there. How know I should knew better? Double act, remember. We practically finish each other's sentences. Good point. Yes, there we are. And the mask.
So this is me turning up and trying to play a highwayman, but I don't know what the highwayman said because I wasn't there at the time. And so the idea is we've decided that I will play Mr. West because I know how Mr. West thinks, and Mr. West can play the highwayman because he saw what the highwayman did.
Yeah.
Your money or your life? I beg your pardon? Your money or your life? What is a highwayman doing on a train? Over the times, Grandad. Where were you when the Industrial Revolution happened? You would not believe me if I told you. And I'm only 26! That's not your money, sir. I have no money, sir.
Are you only 26, Mr. Morgan, or are you much older than that?
Oh,
now?
not another one.
I'm much older than that now.
All right, hold still whilst my accomplice, who is called Tom. Tom, what have I told you about dressing appropriately for work?
Yes, why we didn't buy masks that you could just pull over the top rather than having to tie up, I'll never know.
Who knows? That classic thing of being like, how long can this take? It takes ages. The whole setup for this bit was an absolute nightmare.
But it is one of the best bits in the show, and people love this as a magic trick.
It's one of the best tricks in the show. But the idea is I'm about to put Reese in a sack, and that's quite a hard thing to set up for a very little time.
Goodness sake, pass that to Tom, will you? Yes, of course.
I love that gag. I think that's a
I really like it as
appreciate
well.
that, but I love that gag.
Sorry, I do apologise. No, sorry, I've not been
So we reuse this sort of bit of magic trick escapology in the Christmas show, but we do it with chains, and they are much, much more uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, maybe you are going to be disappointed. There is no Blackadder reference in this.
Yeah, no, we don't. I'm not sure we ever referenced Blackadder.
No.
Blackadder is less of an adventure story, more of a...
So Rob is talking about how the trains have ruined the highwayman industry, where he's channeling how sat-navs have ruined the cabbie industry, basically.
Yeah,
I think.
basically. And even though my parents watch these streams, and so I apologise, because I promised my dad I wouldn't do any more cabbie chat. But basically, yeah, the highwayman moaning about how trains have ruined the highwayman industry is just my dad talking about sat-navs destroying cabbie. Sorry, Dad.
What? You're being dropped off by all the other passengers.
Oh, what?
Allow me to explain. One by one, Tom and I here rob the passengers of this train by tying them up, stuffing them into these postal sacks, taking their things, and then leaving them for the postal hooks en route to pick them up. That way, any potential witnesses are left unharmed, if rather disoriented in the middle of rural Russia, and we can carry on the robbery undisturbed.
Every passenger.
Yet you are the last.
I am the last passenger aboard this train.
Why do you think it's taken us 5 days to get round to you?
Are you not afraid the message will get out and you will be caught?
What message to travel faster than a train? Anyway, everyone will assume we perished in the train crash.
Train crash!
Oh yes, Tom and I diverted a yak hurdle to the track up ahead. When the train hits it, it will derail and be destroyed. People will be so busy looking through the wreckage, we can make good our escape.
But curiously, loquacious highwayman.
Ingenious, eh?
You want nothing but a...
I do quite enjoy the line of curiously loquacious highwaymen.
Also,
Because that is us just sort of doing a bit of a joke about the fact that everyone always explains their plans.
Yeah. Also, I do quite like the fact that, because obviously the train did drop off bags of things that were picked up by hooks. I think we really wanted to use that. There's also a bit there where you...
It does.
I'm going to pause there a second. Where you say you're nothing but a petty thief, and I say I'm an exceptional thief, which is obviously a reference to Die Hard.
And then this next bit now is us doing a kind of cliffhanger bit in the middle of the show, which is going to carry on straight away.
An action, like a sort of 1960s TV show, again, end of Batman-esque kind of thing, of next time on. But we just do it in the middle of the show and then carry straight on.
Mr. West,
Meaning him.
escaped the dastardly highwayman. Will Mr. Morgan
Currently not present.
ever make it back into the adventure?
Oh, yes, this is entirely told in flashback.
Find out in the thrilling conclusion of Morgan and West, a grand adventure.
Yet another guest appearance by Liam Walton.
People are expecting an interval.
A grand adventure.
It just goes straight back in.
Yeah.
Well, in that case, I'll climb up in this bus so I can crash the train to grocery someone better than I. Happy travels, Mr. West.
Not so fast.
Oh, the devil!
Mr. West, a problem what? Yes, you see,
So Mr. Morgan's about to come on.
Yeah.
and as such, you are currently playing the highwayman, yes, and I'm playing you, yes, so who is going to play me?
We should have narrated this part.
Yes, you should.
Okay. Tom, congratulations. You have been promoted to the role of Mr. Morgan. Don't worry, it's not challenging. You can carry on playing me.
I feel when we extended this show to 90 minutes, which didn't improve it because we were just putting more bumps in. We had to do, because of the way this bit works, I think this wasn't the interval, was it? This was
No,
just
so
after
here's the line.
interval we did this gag.
Mr. Morgan, where the devil have you been, you handsome cad, you?
I would not say that.
Yes, you would.
Sorry I'm late. I was waylaid.
Waylaid? What on earth were you doing?
Just a spotted gambling.
Gambling? What on earth were you gambling on?
Tiddlywink.
So they had to choose a game.
Name,
So
name
this
a game.
Tiddlywinks? What on earth, who on earth were you playing against?
Isambard Kingdom Dramatic.
they had to name someone that they were playing against.
So, yeah, the next class is name historical figure.
Kingdom Brunette.
Champion of British industry in the row. Very appropriate.
One of my favourite points of doing this bit is whoever they said trying to work out whether they were alive or dead or not.
Did you win much?
7,000
£7,000! In 1895! Those are astronomical!
People would always grossly overestimate how much you could win in 1895. So this is actually this is my favourite trick in the show, legit,
Yeah,
because
this
it
is
was a
my
trick that
favourite
we
bit of
thought
this
was
show.
really stupid and always played incredibly well.
Yeah.
Why, yes.
And also, it's kind of one of the most seamlessly integrated, I think, whilst at the same time not being seamlessly
Yes, it's
integrated.
very. I think it's one of the better uses of doing clumsy audience member on stage nonsense. The premise here is that he doesn't have the money with him, but he's got a receipt for the money.
It was in fact I, and as a result...
It's an IOU, I think, isn't it? And I'm still tied up, and it's in a waistcoat pocket, and it's in a sealed envelope in a waistcoat pocket, and I'm still tied up. So
Yeah,
you've kind of got to fish it
because
out.
the volunteer is meant to be Mr. Morgan, but Mr. Morgan is tied up as me. So Mr. Morgan, the real Mr. Morgan, has the receipt in their pocket.
Good, just read out.
I hereby promise to pay the bearer, on demand, £7,000, sum total owed to Mr. Morgan, After losing to him in a game of tiddlywink, and Isambard King to Banana.
Yeah, I really like that trick. I think it's a really silly, ridiculous trick. But yeah, you're right.
It was always the trick that played best because it was very clearly a magic trick. It was very clearly impossible, and it just kind of worked. It just played really, and it was funny as well. It was always funny because of what people would say.
Yeah.
With the railway gone, we found ourselves alone on the train. I was tied up in the sack. Mr. Morgan was mourning the loss of his weddings. Conveniently, escapology is not unfamiliar to me, having spent time with the great Houdini himself. Houdini's record from escaping being bound in a postal sack was the rivetingly fast time of 38 minutes.
He really did believe in value for money.
However, sniffing the air outside the train informed us that the yak herd was little more than 5 minutes away. I, played here by Mr. Morgan, would have to escape in less than 4.5 minutes. 4.5 minutes later.
So that whole bit.
And that was always a
bit
fun
of
one to do.
Because, firstly, in Houdini's day, Houdini's escapes did take a very long time. They took like an hour often, or an hour and a half.
And
So
they'd
we
have a
wanted
band
to-
playing and dancing people and all this sort of thing
and
to
a
keep
lot
it
of
interesting.
anthropologists sort of would say, "Oh, this is Houdini's record when doing." I've paused it. We've not stood very still. Would say this is Houdini's record when doing an escape in 4 minutes. But actually, Houdini's records were way, way, way longer than that because performance and entertainment was different in those days. So we wanted to do a whole kind of like, oh, here was Houdini's record, like 40 minutes, but we're doing it in 4, and then just immediately escape because everyone knows you just can't. You know, if you can get out, you can get out immediately. So I always enjoyed that bit.
Quick, Mr. Morgan, we must attempt to recover our equipment and enjoy some... Wait a moment. Where were you? Over there, before that, on the train, before that, Moscow, after that, Tea Emporium, that one. What took you so long? Permit me a brief explanation. Upon parting ways and arriving in Moscow...
So this is a very Tom Bombadil-esque complete reversal of the plot so that we can fit in another trick.
The place was alive with the hustle and bustle of workers, each one drying, blending, packaging, and indeed labelling the teas. But I knew that
But Arthur Brooks was in fact the proprietor of the Brooks Bond company, which later became PG Tips, which is what this is about. And it's just an entirely sort of side piece. The trick in this is bonkers. So hopefully we are going to come back to Hemel Hempstead at some point once we're able to.
Yeah, once there's open, we will try and perform anywhere we can.
Assistant Tom, I shall once again explain my nefarious plan to you in some detail.
Tell you what's good is when you speak very fast and also do an incomprehensible accent.
Now, I have already made my fortune by selling only the very tips of the leaves in my pre-digested blends, allowing me to sell the entire rest of the leaf back to the other tea barons. And now I've come up with the...
And that's where PG comes from. PG is pre-digestive because the idea was that tea was supposed to help you eat your dinner. I love that stupid walk.
A character actor, what can I say?
I'm a character actor too. I've just got one character.
This is ridiculous. This whole bit is so ridiculous.
I was hoping that I might be able to ask a few questions.
Yes, I imagine you were.
But first, how about a cup of tea? Oh, yes.
I don't know why, but looking back now, I really feel like he should have been from Yorkshire. But maybe that's because Yorkshire tea is a brand of tea.
Assistant Tom, what's going to happen? Tell you what, how quality, and when I'm done pouring, Tom, when I'm done pouring, just hand any of the cups to our guest. After all,
Okay, so you're not going to be able to see what's happening in this, and this is absolute nonsense. So in this trick, the idea is that Arthur Brooks thinks that Mr. Morgan is here to rumble him on the fact that he's just using the tips of the leaves, which actually are the most expensive bit anyway. It's all kind of like a real nonsense.
It's all nonsense.
And so he's going to try and poison Mr. Morgan through a series of convoluted poisonings. The first one is one of the teacups is poisoned, and he doesn't die from it. Because the teacups have been swapped around. The second is that there are 3 boxes of sugar on that thing, and that when you turn them around, 2 of them
I'm about to pick them up. I'm about to pick up, I think, 3 large sugar boxes, which I think were Tate and Lyle boxes.
oh look, is that a red?
Yeah.
We covered with something else.
I have 2 boxes in it. A few boxes.
I think "Oh look, is that a wren" was a reference.
This one. Hold that.
So then some sugar gets dumped in the tea, but
That box
it
is
turns out that the
poisoned.
boxes, so some of the boxes are poisoned. But basically, he's always accidentally somehow. It looks to the audience as if things can't go wrong, but magically somehow Mr. Morgan isn't getting things wrong at any point. But the problem with the trick was that it's basically a little mini funny play story that, to be very generous to it, may have worked very close up on camera. Certainly doesn't work in a theatre show, and certainly is really weird.
Yeah, and also in no way advances the plot. This is just what.
It's not because he's got an
doing
immunity
all
to the
that.
poison. It's because when you turn the boxes around, the other two are labelled poison, and the one that he's picked from is labelled sugar, I think.
Yeah, I don't know why we didn't reference iocane powder here.
And then at the end, he tries to throw the water at the tea in my face, scalding hot tea in my face, and it turns out it's just confetti now.
Blackmail us or reveal our secrets.
Good gracious, now I'm far too busy for that. I have a game of tiddlywinks with Isambard King of Nelson.
There's nothing like a reference to something that was just made up by an audience member.
Yes, you see, I did think it rather odd that I was to meet another conveniently accented Englishman in a rural part of Moscow, and so I decided to take a few precautions. You see, I thought that I had the measure of your assistant Tom here, and as such knew which cup he would hand to me, and took the liberty of adding a few drops of my very own antidote to that cup.
I believe that cup says A on the bottom, thus representing antidote. I will now pick up the other two and look at the bottom of them, thus showing nothing in them. Except one of them's got stuff in it, so I can't turn it over.
I think we corrected that.
Yeah, we did.
And so swapped the one box of poison you would pick for that of a box of sugar.
So of those three boxes, they all said poison, now one of them says
By
sugar.
no means least, I substituted the cup that I thought you would pick. I substituted the contents of that cup, some tea, for some confetti.
You did not some water, the tea?
Oh, good gracious, no. Here, sir, how are you?
Nothing funny
Water in the
than
face, because there's nothing funnier than water in the
Nothing
face.
funnier than water in the face.
I'm now going to dry him off with a tea towel.
Oh, this is very soft.
Oh,
Exceedingly important.
I know.
Design. Well, sir. All you pay for and what to do for half.
Oh yeah, we crowbar in a bit about showing you the order book so that you can work out who was ordered some tea or something.
I believe it would have been a gentleman on his own, most likely carrying a rather large book, I do believe.
Oh, yes, a couple of weeks ago, gentlemen came in to, no name left, I'm afraid, must have been told for this one. Yes, I can tell you, Lord, a few boxes of tea Kuan Yin, you know, the stuff picked by monkeys.
Tea Kuan Yin. Our favourite blend. What a coincidence. Do you happen to have any left?
Oh, no, we bought our entire stock.
Your entire supply of tea Kuan Yin?
Which is a real tea picked by monkeys.
Mean one thing.
Can it?
The rogue we seek knows we are onto him, and in buying up your entire supply of tea Kuan Yin, our favourite blend, goads us into a pursuit. Well, a pursuit you shall have, sir!
Yes, I reached much the same conclusion myself.
Quickly, Mr. Morgan, we must attempt to recover our equipment, and in doing so, pick up the trail. Yes, indeed. We must find the wreckage of the luggage carriage. Which compartment are you in, Mr. West?
86.
86. Very good, sir, very good. 86, Marvellous. Still intact. How simply wonderful.
Now I believe the idea here was that we'd got the wrong luggage because the tag says 98.
68. Yeah, 98 rather than
98
86.
rather.
Yeah.
Well, it is evident what has happened here. Quite evident. Do you remind me?
Clearly, the thief did indeed make it onto the train, and in doing so, quite capably avoided my investigations. Quite masterfully missed the robbery.
Also, the brill cream in your hair is gone because of the water.
Yep.
Survived the large train crash. And now has stolen our bag so as to scupper any attempt to follow him. But the devil has been fool enough to leave us his own bag, and in doing so, has certainly left us a clue.
You took the exposition right out of my mouth.
I like that line. I think we should keep that for Musketeers. I'm going to jot it down.
We're writing a version of Three Musketeers right now. We might next week.
All the sugar we are carrying. Begins with congratulations on your recent purchase of Tyrell and Company's Unusual Predicament Survival Kit.
Tyrell is the company in Blade Runner.
Yep.
Okay. In the kit you will find, here we go. One single-use wishing tin.
No, do not be ridiculous.
I wonder if that works.
Of course it does not work.
Sugar cubes.
Look, there is no such thing as a whistle.
That's a classic dove pan magic trick. And I wish for sugar cubes, and Mr. West gets very annoyed at me because I've wasted the one wish.
We're in the middle of nowhere with none of our possessions, stranded completely alone, and you wish for the very last thing we
practice. One homing pigeon's egg. Just add warmth and time. I wonder if this works.
Of course it does not work.
One mosquito net. Useful. Yes, for individual mosquitoes. That's useful.
This is just us trying to make a series of prop gags.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's the homing pigeon egg. So
Yeah,
the homing
so
pigeon egg disappears from my
ends up
hand.
back
and
in the
we-
bag and vanishes from Reese's hand. I think that's quite a fun little joke.
It is.
Tarpaulin.
You mean this tea towel, do you not?
Well, I do imagine it has a myriad of uses.
I imagine it does.
Yes.
But it's still essentially a tea towel.
Yes, that is true.
And I do believe in calling a spade a spade.
Funny you should mention that. One spade. Check. One projectile repulsion.
Every time smacking that. Oh, the cricket bat's a good one.
Yeah.
But all of these things are utterly useless. Look, Mr. West, that is not true. The final item is indeed rather useful.
What could it possibly be?
Well, it is in fact your other shoe.
Yeah, I do
Pull back
really
to the
like
beginning.
the vanish of my other shoe from the beginning. That
Yeah.
is actually one of the better bits of this show. Is us doing
Yes,
a
it's
series
nice.
of prop
It's a
gags
little
and big
bit-
appearances. Also, there's something nice about I like to call a spade. One more thing, a spade. We could use that.
Wing, eggs, time, cricket. Stop guessing! Should we read it first? Yes.
Through briny paths unsettled, upon
Liam again.
within,
Yeah, Liam reading a poem.
her steeled skin unyielding, with endless hunger groans. The blackfish, the devourer, though safe be in her hold, the fire-bellied wanderer, with breath doth rend the cold.
Are you thinking what I'm thinking, Mr. Morgan?
Murder some fish and chips.
Evidently not.
Along right lines.
Briny path is called blackfish.
Endless hunger grows.
We're really developing that Mr. Morgan's a bit of a
Bit of an idiot, yeah.
simple.
This is, I
every
think
now
this
and again.
really is the start of Mr. Morgan isn't very smart.
Tianjin lies 5 miles
Oh,
to the east.
Mr. West. I have reached much the same conclusion myself, sir. You see, turn your ear to the easterly wind, and you will hear the unmistakable cry of gulls. Turn your eye to the ground, and you will see some rather hardy grasses, which prefer an alkaline soil, indicative of a sea breeze.
Turn around and read that sign which says Tianjin 5 miles east.
You did not say you could speak Mandarin?
Your name went war.
I believe that is really butchered Mandarin, me saying you never asked.
Soon it crested the horizon, bustling with the activity of English and French ships, each one loading up on tea.
Classic bit in a Morgan and West show. Mr. West has to put a shoe back on again.
Yep. Spent a lot of my career putting shoes back on.
Oh yes, big scone trade in China. Had a war about it.
With renewed vigour for the hunt, Mr. West and I.
Love a turn in something. Someone wants to mention slipping on the salt. Pretty sure you just did.
We have searched
Everywhere. Every other clue has presented itself practically at our feet. Why would they try it now? We must be missing something. We are certainly missing something that's big and papery and full of all of our secrets.
Look, I find that if I just sit down to think,
That is also a direct quote from
Third
Crusade.
Indiana Jones, Last Crusade.
Indiana Jones, Last Crusade.
fire-belly wanderer.
Her breath doth rend the cold.
A steamship! Of course, the scoundrels who seek plan to give us the slip skip the country on a ship.
This time we haven't. Finally, we are one step ahead.
All we need to do is get there first, and we will have
The
the
drop on them. Nowhere to run.
or more accurately, sail.
We reached the docks of midnight. A thin mist hung the vessels, broken here and there by the dimming glow of oil lamp. The gentle rise and fall of the waves made it feel as if the ships were breathing deeply as they slept.
Just like sitting on a trampoline.
Also like that. We crept past clippers,
A type of boat.
schooners,
Also a type of boat.
sloops.
Also a type. They will all be boats.
To finally
I did enjoy the type of outlines.
a hulking tumble-down figure at the end of the jetty. The orca.
Actually, a type of whale.
So the Orca is the boat from Jaws, I believe?
The name of the boat.
Yes.
The black sparrow.
This is the boat! Though safe be in her hold, not be safe, but safe be. They plan to stash our book in the hold of the ship!
Our big book of lies. A brief parley with the captain.
Really felt like there. I forgot my line.
Hmm.
The ship were due to set sail on the morrow.
I mean, this is the show we probably rehearsed the most.
Oh, 100% this is the because this you usually when we do a show, we rehearse like a trick, then we do this trick at a cabaret, then we do that trick at another gig. Whereas you could not break this trick up and do it elsewhere. This was this.
Yes, so I've got a plan, and now we have big over-the-top dramatic music, and Mr. West doesn't know what the plan is, and I'm creating a trail of tea bags.
Apparently the orc is also shipping Elite Dangerous. I'm going to guess that is also a reference to Jaws.
I don't know what Elite Dangerous is.
Because the modern remake of the game Elite.
I don't know what the game Elite is.
Yes, once more. Lured in by the smoky palate of Laxang Souchon, our quarry will approach thus.
I used to love doing this silly little approach.
What a lovely box. Mayhap there are some more exquisite teas inside. Why are
It's Reese doing his Cockney accent.
Then, once they come inside, we simply slam the lid, lock it closed, and we have them. What if they do not fit? Do not fit? Of course they... Look!
I mean, I'll be honest, they only just fitted in this box.
That is debatable. Look, your head is sticking. Oh, close the lid. What's your head?
Okay, that one closes.
I was thinking about this trunk the other day, and the new one that we've had built that looks a lot nicer. Why it's got two padlocks, I don't know.
Yeah, the second one does nothing. It's just aesthetics, isn't it?
Just makes it fiddly to open at the end.
Oh yeah, so this is now when we do this, I don't have the keys at all. But the premise here is that we have two keys, and I've got one, and you've got one.
How many padlocks do we have? Two. And how many keys? Two. And who holds those keys?
I have one, you have the other.
And where am I?
Outside the
And where are you?
a small flaw in the plan.
Oh, so this is the wraparound.
And thus we get back to the beginning.
So here, at the turn, I leave.
Prestige again.
I mean, this is literally the bit that came at the start.
Also, I believe we cocked up the sound there, so I look at confusion and say, my pen ran out. Or I think at this point, what would have happened here is that there's
At the turn, I leave.
the sound crashed, and Heather clearly had to reboot the sound device.
Warning to those who find themselves.
Because we needed the sound to finish off the short story, and it's all one big lump at this point.
One day will be published to the masses, or be reproduced in some fantastical dramatisation, and such retelling will shed light on the events as they transpire, and provide an audience with the illumination that has thus far eluded us.
Really quite hungry now.
Mr. Morgan? Have an idea.
Now we're going to have to talk over this quite a bit because otherwise we'll get a copyright sting from YouTube for this music because it's music that we bought the license to use live, but we don't really have a license.
I think
for
we don't
on
have
YouTube.
the
Or
license
other
to
way.
broadcast this, so we're going to chat over it just to cover any copyright issues here. I mean, anyone that's seen Magic before or understands any concept of narrative is about to work out what's going to happen with this following trick. I believe this is me taking off my cravat. We had an idea when we were first rehearsing this of having a hat on that I would throw in the air, and then it would go up, and then Reese would catch the hat. And A, that's really hard to do, and B, that would have meant wearing a hat for the entire show for no particular reason. We've switched.
Yes, we've switched. We still do that trick to this day, but we now do it actually a lot faster, surprisingly, than that. Because I was surprised at how slow that was even for us. Yeah. But we can't have done this more than a handful of times live, so we would have been panicking like anything at this point.
So that's what we've got out. And obviously, you as the audience and the audience there will have noticed we haven't actually solved anything.
That's the time travel sound effect we use in Time Traveling Magicians.
Where did you get that? Oh, yes, you see, I realised that we had yet to catch our quarry or indeed find our big book of life, and without it, all hope would be lost. So I simply thought to myself, where was the last time we saw our book?
Royal Society.
Royal Society, precisely on the fateful evening of the lecture. So I simply hopped into our time machine, went back to that very same night, and swiped the book whilst we were not looking.
You did what?
Then, on the way out, realised we'd been rather beastly to that magnificently bearded society doorman. What was his name?
Egerton.
Egerton! That was it. So I was still carrying 2 tickets to the Trans-Siberian Railway. Gave them to him, suggested we take a bit of a holiday.
You gave Egerton the tickets to the Trans-Siberian Railway.
Also, hopped on to Arthur Brooks' tea emporium. We didn't have any tea Kuan Yin, so ordered some off his assistant, Tom. Bought their entire supply.
You bought their entire supply in Tea Kuan Yin?
Yes, quite. And then... Oh, blast. I appear to have lost a calling card for Lordina della Fenice. Must have left it at the Royal Society when I picked it up.
You left a calling card? Yes. For Lordina della Fenice and the Royal Society at the same time, and during our lecture you're stealing up...
Doesn't matter.
Oh, never mind.
So it turns out that the book wasn't stolen. It's just that I go back in time because the last time I remember seeing the book is at the Royal Society. And in doing so, set into motion all the events that we have seen. And basically, I'm the cause of everything in a slightly stupid way.
I think basically we realised when writing the show, we didn't really actually have an idea for a plot. So we were like, what is the plot? Like, what can we do? And we realised the best thing to do would be this sort of long, drawn-out thing where we were just following ourselves.
We were always one step behind ourselves, essentially, was the idea. Because we thought it was a very funny and
walking on
silly idea.
And in the end of the show, we just walk on and explain how we have gone along this very convoluted route. Because even as it is, the entire show is made up of us making wild assumptions about who we're following.
Yeah, crazy
Like, I think the
wild
idea of
assumptions.
it being us from the future came on quite early, but we never quite formed that into a thing that made sense. It was just jumping from set piece to set piece to set piece.
Yeah. So that's a grand adventure. 2013 Edinburgh
That's
Fringe.
a grand adventure.
Yeah, there you go. We then took that out on tour in 2014, worked it up into a 90-minute show, 80. And the bits we added in didn't have time to rehearse really because we were doing a different show at the Edinburgh Fringe and also having a really hard time writing that one. And the tour sucked and was a disaster. And almost sunk us. So that was
the big problem with the tour was that because the show was called Morgan and West: A Grand Adventure. When we did it at Edinburgh, we'd been doing Edinburgh for years, and had built.
It was our fifth Edinburgh show. Five.
Our fifth Edinburgh show, and so people came to see us every year, and so you could do a show called Morgan and West: A Grand Adventure, and people would come and see it because they're like, Edinburgh, let's go see something. On tour, it didn't say magic, it didn't say tricks, it didn't say anything magic related, so it just looked like some play by two people that no one had ever heard of, and no one came.
So this was the tour, for example, where the previous year we'd been to the Harlequin in Redhill and done their studio room, which was 100 seats with time travel magicians, and filled it. And so the next year our agent said, well, it filled then, why don't we put you in the main space? And the Harlequin went, yes, let's see, because it's filled really quickly. Main space was 500 seats, 14 people booked tickets.
Yeah.
And because of that trick at the end, me standing on the box, we couldn't do it in the studio space because the studio room was only 7 foot tall.
Yeah, had a really low ceiling. So we're like, and they're like, we'll just do it in the studio because there's only 14 people. We're like, we can't. Reese can't stand on the box. Therefore, we have to do it in the main space. So we ended up bringing all 14 people onto stage on chairs, put the audience stage right, I think, and we performed just on stage left and pointed all the lights from one side of the rig and just dropped the safety curtain. So we just made the stage itself into this tiny little black box theatre. I seem to remember that gig was actually quite fun. Because
it was quite nice. Because weirdly, that tour, the ones where hardly anyone turned up, and as a result, we kind of basically acknowledged with the audience that no one turned up and just had a nice time. It was fine. It was the ones where it was kind of like there's 40 people in a 200-seat room. Those are always the painful ones, where it's kind of not enough people to make it definitely not many people, and not enough people to make it definitely some people. Because no one knows what you're supposed to do. No one knows what you're supposed to be doing.
No. But yeah, so that was a rough touring period. But also, I mean, not that the show was a particularly tightly written, expertly plotted thing, but putting another 20 minutes of material into that didn't help.
And it just sagged, and it was just and we hated doing that tour. We
had
hated it.
a bit where we met a Q-like character, like a James Bond Q-esque character, who basically did a bunch of gags about magic tricks, and then we did the bit where we go to Moscow and find the Moscow Bugle and go and see, and we put Katania Azov in the show as a character. I cannot remember if there was even a trick in that bit.
Yeah, it's through the rose.
Oh, we did a hot rubbish rose. Yeah, dreadful stuff.
These days we've done a floating rose. Yeah, that was bad. The Q-bit was all right. Those mouth coils, wasn't it? That was just mouth coils. And then there was the fortune teller, which was dreadful.
Oh, we did a bit with it. I completely forgotten about that. But yes, the third bit.
Casting the runes. It was absolute bobbins.
And we had like scrolls.
Because we wrote half of these tricks. We wrote half of the extra tricks basically between the end of Edinburgh 2014 and going out on tour 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
So I remember Caroline Corey sent us like good luck baskets.
Yeah, and the news. Well, basically, I think the problem is, yes, there was a whole bit with a loud printing.
Oh yes, the loud printing press in Russia. Yeah.
I don't know. I cannot at all remember what the premise of that bit was, other than I think I was trying to woo Katania Elisov.
Yeah, you were trying to woo Katania Elisov to get the tickets to Trans-Siberian. To get information off her about where Exum was.
Did I produce a bottle of wine?
Yeah, we also had the floating glass in it.
We did a thing. Yes, we did a thing where we were doing puns again. We basically recreated the survival kit bit. We were just doing puns and produced milk, I think.
Yeah, it was awful.
I can't remember why.
Like properly, but we had 21 tour dates, and we knew that it wasn't coming out again. We just kind of had to get through them.
Yeah.
Because by that point we were thinking about the kids show writing anyway.
Well, and I think we'd kind of as the problem with a tour that doesn't sell is that it hasn't sold in advance, and we did have fun in some of the shows performing for people, but it is quite soul destroying when you are driving hours and hours and hours to get somewhere and play to like 20 people.
Yeah, that was until we took Percy with us as well.
Yeah, and we took
it was me, you, and Percy in the Citroen Berlingo.
Yeah, and we had because that is probably the most tech heavy show we've done. Liam in the comments, who did our sound design, talked about the fact that it's basically a straight hour of sound design, and as well as that, there's a lot of lighting changes in there, a lot for us at least. And we did the
one which was a civic hall. Because it had a lot of lighting design as well. And we did like a civic hall where we were the first show back since they had a refurbishment.
But the
refurb wasn't finished. And so it didn't have a proper lighting setup. It just had 4 lights on dimmers at the side of the stage. So poor Percy, who was our tech, was just sort of watching from the side of the stage, wiggling the dimmers a bit to try and vaguely recreate the lighting states.
Yeah, so
and it was also Halloween, so everyone in the show is in costume.
Yeah, we had like 30 people in Halloween costumes, in a big civic hall that was like properly half finished. Like there was ladders and tins of paint and stuff. And if you've never done lighting before, usually lights are programmed into a desk at the back and the operator just hits go and the lights change. Percy was at the side of stage, so couldn't see what was happening.
Yes, James Percival, Catherine. Yeah, James Percival.
And had a row of little faders that were like the actual dimmer packs you plug the lights into. And was just sort of doing this. So, I mean, fair play, that was a rough op job.
That was, oh god! And I remember that we had dinner in a really random pub that was packed because it was Halloween evening on a Friday night, and I was just. If you go on our Tumblr, Morgan and West, tumblr.morgan and West or /Morgan and West or whatever, there are photos. You can find the photos from that night because it's us with a bunch of people in costume.
Yeah.
And that was a weird one. Yeah, that was an odd one. So yeah, Grand Adventure lived and died by that point. We then sort of the next attempt at yes, he is now head of sound at the Old Vic. For a while, he worked for Alex Tester, who's in the comments as well. So there are at least 4 people currently in this talking who know James Percival. Yeah. It was the next thing we did kind of after this of the same ilk was the Christmas Carol. Is the thing.
Yeah, so
that's
we see our shows that sort of not kind of have eras or anything like that, but like. 2 weeks ago, we watched Crime Solving Magicians, which was us doing a show with narrative, but it was just a series of loosely themed tricks. And at the time, we were very happy with that. But when Grand Adventure came around, we were like, we want to do a show that's really got a story, that really is one narrative throughout. And then we did
Mabel's worked with Percy as well. Everyone's worked with Percy.
Everyone's worked with Percy. We did Grand Adventure and kind of went, that was a narrative, but it was also complete nonsense. And we saw, what was Toby's sketch group called? The Something Faces?
Sad Faces?
The Sad Faces? I think it was called The Sad Faces. So a friend of ours who had a sketch group called The Sad Faces, and there was 3 of them. I think they're all now...
He's now a BAFTA award-winning children's television writer. Yeah. So,
and they did a show called... They did a comedy version of The Dawn Chorus, which I think me and Liam went to see in it was really, really good.
The Sad Faces. Liam said Sad Faces.
It It was really, really good. No one came. Like, it was a very small audience, but I thought it was really, really funny. And I came out of that and went, you know what? I really like the idea of doing a classic text in a silly way. I wonder if we could do a Christmas Carol. Because it was Christmas at the time, I think we saw it.
Yeah.
And so we eventually did our version of Christmas Carol, which we technically still
3 years
did to
after this
day.
show. 3.5 years after
3
this
years
show.
later we did it. It took us a long time to get on stage.
Yeah.
But we technically still do it to this day.
Yeah.
But that has its origins in this show.
Yeah.
And that was Grand Adventure.
So that was Grand Adventure. Next week, we're going to watch all of our Penn and Teller stuff, including the hidden, unseen Penn and Teller clip that you literally won't have seen before, unless you were one of the 400 people in the audience that snowy December Eve. What made us think of doing Musketeers this time? A chat we were having with our director this time last year in America. So
we do a lot of work now with some actor and magician called Peter Clifford, who's directed a lot of our work recently. And we were all out in America at a magic convention. And basically, we're just walking down the road. And I think I went, you know what? We could do a good Three Musketeers because of the way we all look relative to one another. And then, sort of, when all the work got cancelled, I think Reese then emailed us and went,
we could do it outside.
We could do it outdoors, which means we could do it probably do it even amongst COVID and stuff. So that was basically why we did it. It was sort of a joke, but then at the same time also an opportune thing.
And so we're currently writing script for it. I mean, not right now, but this morning we had a script meeting.
We haven't just been like...
We sort of first draft of about a third of it, I reckon, by now.
I mean, it's going okay. We'll see.
Yeah,
some of the things... So as we run out of videos of stuff for us to do live streams, I think some of the live streams might be us making costume and like other physical props and things for the show.
And by us, he means him.
Yeah, it'll be me on my sewing machine.
I'll be here for the chat. I'll be here to talk.
Reese will be there and chat and maybe talking about the history of Morgan's costume and stuff. You know, that kind of thing. But that's some of the live stream stuff we're going to do in the future.
But next week at 8 o'clock, we're going 8 o'clock?
Yeah, we'll do 8 o'clock.
We'll do 8 o'clock.
Let's do 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock.
It's 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
So next week at 8 o'clock. I'm joking. Super impressionable, but just checking with Rita. It's the week after we're doing the lecture, right?
No. Week after that. So
week after
second
that.
Tuesday of February.
We've got ages. In that case, yes. Next week, 8 o'clock. We will be watching 3 performances of us on Penn and Teller Fool Us, one of which never got aired, assuming we can find them all on the hard drive we've got. I'm pretty sure I know where
they are. I mean, they are. I sorted them out halfway through the last lockdown, so they are there.
In that case, we will watch 3 performances of Penn and Teller and talk about that and tell stories and stuff. Otherwise, thanks for watching. This has been really fun. Thanks for dealing with our, by now, almost signature technology issues.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting there, aren't we?
I feel like it's basically become our thing.
Yeah.
So, we'll see.
We tested this earlier twice. We tested it yesterday and today, and then the thing we forgot today was changing the name.
I thought I could just do it, and it didn't. Who knew? Who knows?
Who knew?
By next week, I will jump on another stream again and change the name and see how that works. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Will.
But thank you very much for watching, everyone. It's been a pleasure. Stay safe. Much love to you all, and have fun.
See you next week. Bye.
Bye.
And by next week, I mean when we next jump on, so we can test some more technology problems. Technology.